Good morning, how are you? I'm here. Why are you wearing an Air Force hat?
Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers! Okay, what we're going to do today is we have Dave Hodges is, always enlightening on everything that we're going to do. And we're going to ask him. I haven't talked to him. He agreed to do it. I knew he was going to have some opinions and information on a lot of different various things. A little bit of news. Maybe he'll cover some of this. More Bundys have been arrested. They've been doing that over the last couple of days. So anyone that went up to... We can start now. Lance is here. The one thing that I didn't know if they were going to go this far. It looks like anyone that went up to the refuge up there, they're arresting. So this is obviously a clear message, so we'll see what happens there. We have, since last meeting, Donna and I went to Acapulco to an event called Anarcho-Poco, which is, very interesting. It's the second year I've done. The presentation I did last year was why I'm so optimistic, and this year was why I'm still so optimistic. I go to Marrakesh in May, why I'm really still so optimistic, okay? And I started off the presentation this last year with 4 slides out of like 60-something, of the presentation. And they go really fast. I mean, like 30 minutes, 60 slides, one of those deals. And I started off with, look, I know how bad it is. And I go, they want to turn this, and you have little baby Einsteins with the hair and glasses and doing equations, at 1 year old and 9 months, and they're reading books, and they're, all these smart kids. And they want to turn this into this. And then you have babies with, circuitry on their head and, readers and EEGs as they're reading, doing Khan Academy, and all of their information goes into a server. They map their brain and mind, and now you're a slave, for the Alliance. I mean, I get it. And I go, but let me show you what's going on. So you go through all the high-tech stuff, all the space exploration, all the different things that are happening. But you got to keep in mind, DARPA is now putting chips in the back of people's heads to implant memories and emotions and turn them into a freaking clone army. This is going on right now. This was what I was worried about. Human nature. Where's the gene for the human spirit? How do you take just the biological hardwiring of I prefer to be left alone? I own myself. I wish to use my liberty to create property, and protect my life. And I'm just it's me. Even the most ardent socialist doesn't realize, until you can, hopefully you can explain it to them, certainly young you can, is that they live an anarchist life. They pretty much, get up, nobody's got a gun dragging them out unless it's mom getting ready for school. But I mean, they get up, they eat whatever, they open the refrigerator, they put whatever in there, they bought it, they, go to the grocery store and buy stuff because they want it and there's a demand for it and people supply it. We live anarchist lives. But there's a sickness, this most dangerous superstition, as Larkin Rose would put it, which he was prominently featured at Anarcho-Poco, is that we believe that we need some kind of a central plan or a framework of somebody else's play, that we're just actors on their stage. All the world's a stage, and somebody's producing it other than yourself. It's not like that. Individuals make all kinds of individual decisions. Eventually, it will always come down to wallet voting. Where do you spend your time, your effort, your treasure, your investment, your education? It's on yourself and your immediate environment. The more and closer that we get to that, the more power we see as just individuals against whoever has a plan for us. If you get up and you go, I got a plan on the Democrat, the Republicans, I got a better plan. You see that, hell, I'm not even hearing plans. It's always, ouch, quit it, and your hands are too small. I mean, I'm going, seriously. But if they come up and they have a plan, well, I'm going, what's the Libertarians' plan? I don't know, for you to have your own plan. No, that's no plan. You got to tell me what to do. No, I think you should be able to do what you want as long as you don't mess with my plan. No. Got to have a plan. How are you going to be a good ruler if you don't have a plan for me? Well, what if I don't want to rule you? these concepts are not coming up, except we have an interesting alternative. We'll see how this works. The Libertarian Party has like 15 candidates. They did a debate, they videotaped it, cut it in half, and at the second part they invited 5 back based on whatever criteria they had. Well, one of them...
3 back.
What?
I think 3 back.
There was 5. Well, no, okay, I address what you're talking about. They come back with 5 candidates, and one of them is Judge Napolitano's former producer or something, worked at Fox under Judge Napolitano. So he's running as a Libertarian candidate for the nomination, America, Constitution, America, America. Then you have Gary Johnson, was governor of New Mexico, and he ran on the Libertarian nomination last time. So he is like, I did this and I did that, and I climbed the 7 highest peaks in Everest, and I'm on the continent, I'm a man, and Trump's a pussy. He actually says this. I don't know how much, why or how much press he's had, whatever. I wouldn't have done that. But so he's up there. Then John McAfee, crazy gazillionaire. He did McAfee antivirus software back 15 years ago, sold it, and now it sucks, and he doesn't care. And he does videos on the internet. A lot of people don't realize this. I've been watching his videos over the years, and he'll be with a green screen behind him. He's talking. He's bringing out guns. He's snorting coke off of hookers. I mean, it is bad. He's just having a gun. He's got on a table. He's got all these, semi-automatic rifles. He's just like, and he's talking crap about the man, and they're just having fun. That'd be awesome, okay? He'd run for office. He's a pox on all that. His big thing is cybersecurity. We're not, prepared against what they're doing. That's my expertise thing. Then the other 2 that you know about, there's another doctor and then a guy named Darryl Perry. Darryl Perry is one of the activists at the Free State Project in New Hampshire. And they were talking to him, asking him a question. Well, if you take the oath of office and you do this, what would be the first thing? And you do it. And he goes, well, it's going to be tough. I'm not sure I could take the oath of office, seeing as how I'm for the total disillusionment of the United States of America anyway. I'm for secession of everybody and shut it down and we're done. So, when John Stossel invites, they want to have 3 back, they pick McAfee, Gary Johnson, and the Napolitano guy, of course, which is how they get the gig on Fox.
His name is Peterson.
Peterson?
Yeah.
They don't invite Darryl Perry. Wasn't because he didn't do well in the polling. Wasn't because he didn't have a lot of applause. Wasn't because he didn't have a lot of support. It was like, hell no, are we putting up this anarchist version of just a pox on the whole freaking thing, go back to the states. The states created it, the states uncreated, we're done. Just that thought process, that's a splinter in the mind of somebody up there saying down on Fox, that will never go away. Do we really get to have a full range of what our choices are? No. Even if, okay. We'll have a 3rd-party option up here. Because maybe it might pull some from Trump and Hillary gets the win. I mean, it's just this whole mindset of what they're doing. You never really get the full spectrum of your options. Here in Arizona, they've changed a lot of laws. The voices are being squelched, but the point that I was making in Acapulco is it just doesn't matter. Wallet voting. People are voting with their feet. This whole generation next does not see the world the way the elite did. When Mitt Romney comes up and say, yeah, I've ran 2 failed presidential campaigns and I'm going to run. And a lot of people don't know. We put up on Freedom's Phoenix at the top this morning. It has Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, had filed in 2015 for 2016. They already have an exploratory committee. It's just sitting there. So what are you going to do? It's Mitt now in the convention? Is that their thing? Is it Rubio's? You may choose from communist candidate A or fascist candidate B. They don't care which. You get up to the top of the pyramid and the all-CNI controls left and right side. What did you think was going to happen? But there's entertainment. And Generation Next, when I was down in Acapulco the 2nd year in a row, there's 300-400 people travel from all over the world, average age in their 30s, And you want to know where all the bodacious babe women are? They were there on the beach in their string bikinis. All the anarchists. And all these rich Bitcoin got 300, gazillion dollars that these guys have. And the only thing that people wanted to know was what they're going to do with their money last year in support of Rand Paul. Well, all this newfound Bitcoin gazillionaires, what are you going to do with the money? You were a bunch of Ron Paul guys. Well, now you got real money. What are you going to do? You're still voting? And it blew them away. They don't know what to do. Generation Next has abandoned this entire process. The Levolution is between the ears. All of this stuff that you're seeing to them is just noise. Freedom, there's an app for that. That's how they see it. So, energy. We look at all kinds we have Warren Buffett owns a utility in Nevada. Solar City comes up with Tesla, with Elon Musk, and they're just selling all kinds of net metering. They're putting on the houses. They're doing bank. They're doing well. Buffett goes to their version of the Corporation Commission, which is one guy, and said, "Oh no more net metering. They can't, and it's ours, and because they can't, and whatever, and it's done." Really? Okay. What is Elon doing? He has a gigafactory that's mass producing, and the cost of lithium-ion battery packs for houses is plummeting. He goes, "You know what? We don't need your net metering on. You know what we're going to do? Within 2 years, it's all solar panels and a battery pack, and we're off your utility. Now what? Now what? You unplug from the energy. You unplug from communications with, CubeSats. Elon Musk is putting up 8,000 CubeSats over the next year.
8,000?
8,000. These little CubeSats.
What are those?
Because they're communication satellites that have an entire worldwide connected grid forever and always. Facebook is doing it right now with planes. Google is doing it with balloons and planes. Why? Because they want to give you the intranet that they have. They want to push the information they got. They want to make sure you make more friends for Zuckerberg, because they're his friends, not yours. Okay? You don't get the emails, he has them. But you can communicate through Facebook as long as you're a good boy. So they put up Assassinate Donald Trump page on Facebook, and Facebook goes, well, it doesn't violate our community standards. But if you're criticize feminism, or you're going on about Black Lives Matter or something, anything, whatever, boom, down. But we can assassinate Donald Trump, that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not for censoring anything. Yeah, whatever, you're a stupid kind, I don't care. But if you're going to have that kind of standard, assassination of a presidential candidate, I remember this from history. A lot of you guys, the older guys, probably actually remember this buildup of criticism and this, assassination fever and JFK and Cuba, we don't like, and dead. Do you feel it? Then his brother runs. They're afraid that there's going to be an opening of the investigation into his brother's death. Dead. Mitt Romney is standing up there. Hinckley Institute. Gary just is pointing this out. He got to go, Hinckley? Is that the same guy? Yeah, the guy that shot Reagan's dad. Or grandfather, or whatever. You got the Hinckley Institute. It's Romney standing there. Want to get Hinckley?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You think this wasn't, picked up?
Yeah.
Where would he stand? Where it says Hinckley. Over Hinckley, right here, Hinckley. Are you sure? Hinckley?
It's all over the whole bag of it.
So I'm going, you can't make this stuff up. So it's entertainment, and what I was playing was every Thursday, Dr. Frank Tambury and I do a thing called the Trump Report. Donna did the stats on it. It's been since July. I didn't know it was that long. It's been over 35-something hours that were scheduled, plus the bonus. So it's been 50, 60-something hours of us just yakking about from the beginning of the Trump campaign, because he saw what was going to happen. He was so convinced exactly how this was going to play out. So my thing has always been Jeb Bush, Walker Bush machine. It's going to be Jeb. No, he's done. He's talking about Bush, but man, Bush, exclamation point, Bush. When we were in Mexico, Bush dropped out. And I wasn't so concerned about broker convention. They'll come back. The walker machine, Bush walker machine, is not going to be denied. That whatever, doesn't mean anything to me. But what really kind of bummed me out is that he took his glasses off. I'm really quitting now. Or when I come back, I'll be not Clark Kent, but Superman. They don't laugh. This stuff is so entertaining. What's the consistency in here? It's the people. And Trump brand, if he pulls, you think Ron Paul got crap for pulling, twice, and then his son again, I don't think Trump will pull. It'll damage his brand too much. He's in it. He created Make America Great Again. He did in 2012. Because when Romney lost, he's like, done. And all he does is just paint a word picture. Yeah? What do you have to do? Mitt Romney, blah, 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 blah. Oh, true or not, Trump, nobody cares. The more they pile on, the more the people are going, support for Trump is a middle finger to the establishment. Oh, you guys really don't like him? You bring him Hinckley, Romney? Seriously, you really, really don't like him, do you? Good! We support Trump, all right? It's just a middle finger. They don't give a crap what he says. It doesn't matter what he did or does. They don't care. So they got to contend with this. I don't know what's going to happen, but it is definitely for the books. This is going to, so all they have to do, they, them, those won't leave us alone, is one thing. Get it through to the next election cycle. It's always about one more election cycle until they can't. I don't trust the electoral process. They're already talking about how they're going to rip it from him in the convention. They change the rules whenever they want. We've seen them do it with Dr. Paul. In fact, when he signed the agreement with the RNC, just treat me fairly, and equally with the other guys, and we're good. The rest is politics. I don't care. When Trump did that, did he get kind of a contract with them or something? If they violate that, does he sue him? Does he make? Where does this go? And he told him, he said, I'm not going to let you Ron Paul me. So Ron Paul set the groundwork for this and how they can do the thing. Do you think Trump doesn't have enough attorneys or supporters? Is this about Trump? No. It's about the American opinion. It's just opinion. Everything Frank and I talk about is opinion. The system sucks. It's our opinion. The youth, we don't want to play. That's their opinion. It's just an opinion. The rest of the stuff is a side effect. Vote totals, vote participation, the economy, the stock market. Everything is a side effect of just people's opinion. And their opinion is that the lead, we rule, run central plan of, didn't you get the memo and here's your leash? The opinion of the people of that is they suck and they don't want to play anymore. Who gives us a really good perspective on they, them, those, their plans and what they're doing? That's what makes Dave Hodges so popular. Whenever we put him up, or he comes, man, whoa, lots of traffic. This video is going to get a lot of traffic. Why? Because Dave is saying a lot of things and pointing out things that people need to know. It's a tapestry that's woven for humanity across this planet and that we're operating under. I'm of the opinion that opinion is what's going. That there was a scene in The Siege, terrorist this, that, so on. One of the characters, he goes, he's one of the terrorists with the bomb on and everything. He goes, you don't understand, you Americans. You think, that you believe that power. No, he goes, you believe that power gives you, or might gives you power. And all that. He goes, no, belief is power. And the point that he was making is what we believe, what we take truth, that's the power. Well, Dave has been demonstrating to people what their power is. Now, I was just going to introduce him. He's going to the bathroom. Hurry up, Dave! Dave! Rush it up, Dave.
That's a good segue.
Are you watching CPAC?
Yeah, timing
No.
is perfect.
Carly gave great. Carly here.
Carly Fiorina, she really had a great opinion of herself. And what a lot of people didn't know is that she was head of Hewlett-Packard, combined with Compaq, had the largest computer manufacturing company in the world at the time, things started going bad. The dot-com bubble went. All of a sudden, then 9/11. What happens is General Hayden, I think it was head of the NSA and then later went to CIA and all this stuff. He calls Carly, and we need some servers. We're going to surveil the American people, and we need the process by which we can, get the data, and here we go. Not a problem. She turns around an 18-wheeler, going to some vendor, and they just drop off the servers, and how can I be of help? They take and put her on the trusted computer team of, whatever the heck, inside the Pentagon, inside the NSA. She's working inside the CIA. This during the time she knew the surveillance apparatus, the military-industrial, we use surveil all CNI of Pentagon, because she was it. And then she comes up, we're gonna have to cyber terrorism, Durka jihad, and get me an Obama. Oh yeah, we're gonna surveil everybody. And iPhone should be opened up and encryption should be busted and you're not allowed to be secret and private. This was her campaign. And I'm going, and plus she tried to smile one time. That was a mistake. Stop, man. Just, quit while you're behind. So this is, I'm looking to this whole process as an education in what we're up against. Donald Trump has done at least that, and we're going to get, a lot of America is going to see the process. Well, the process is there to serve you like the bull serves the cattle, you know what I mean? We need to get some service. Well, to give us a perspective on these things and a lot more, Dave Hodges is ready to go. I welcome my friend Dave Hodges.
Bob! It's been a tough week in the Hodges household. We all got the flu. Don't worry, your bathroom's okay. It's great to be here. When Donna called me on Monday, I thought, there's no way. Because we were all struggling. But, someday I'll tell this story with Ernie's permission. But out where I live, and I brought my neighbor Jim with me, we wouldn't have our houses today if it weren't for Freedom's Phoenix and the influence that they had politically in some circles. Because we had the powers that be trying to force us off our land, about 300 homeowners, and every trick in the book, McCain was behind it, and it was Freedom's Phoenix that really delivered the death blow to that effort. So someday I'll tell that story. But I want to dovetail a little bit on what Ernie was saying about Trump. I wrote an article this morning on my new website. It's got some dust on it still. We're still under construction, but we launched this morning. We were just getting too much traffic, having too much slowdown. The listen live button to the radio show just was having all kinds of trouble, so we decided to revamp. And but I wrote an article.
Don't bang the thing that's coming out on the
Okay. I wrote an article today about the importance of Trump. And I have a little different take on Trump. Is he becoming more presidential? That's a debate. Maybe isn't. To me, I don't care. I've said many times in print and on the air, I probably will actually vote in this election, but I won't necessarily be voting for Trump. I'm voting for things he's talking about. It's stuff that people needs to hear. And here's the unique opportunity that he is bringing us. He is taking people who would rather worry about NFL free agents and turning them into people who are listening to free trade arguments. And people that are understanding about how we've been screwed by the establishment for 30 years in shipping our jobs overseas and in costing millions of American jobs, contracting this economy to where we only have about 13% of our original manufacturing base left, and then bringing these products back in, underselling the existing businesses that stayed here and were loyal to this country and American workers, and they're doing it duty-free. That's national suicide. And he's bringing attention to this issue. And this is something that we in the Patriot movement can really take advantage of. I predict over the next 6 to 12 weeks, we're going to be seeing millions of visitors to our websites, listening to our radio shows, that have never heard of us on this day. Today, who's Ernie, who's Dave, they may not know. In a month, a lot of them are going to know. And he is setting us up with what he says, and then people go to the net and start looking for these things with their Google search terms, although don't use Google. And in response, they're going to discover some of the truth. And I will cut right to the chase here, because there's other things I want to talk about. There's a real important consideration here, and it's the Hillary Clinton freight train that's running parallel to the Trump machine. Hillary's getting no attention, and that's by design. When you're a criminal and you've got 35,000 national security emails on your private server, and you have been shown clearly by Aaron Klein that you were tracking and producing and broadcasting the whereabouts of Ambassador Stevens before his death, you're not only guilty of 35,000 national security violations, each carrying 5 years apiece in federal prison, you're an accomplice to treason and to murder. And this is something they can't let come out. Now, there was a ray of hope this week when Brian Pagliano, was given immunity, and he was the man running Clinton servers. So people think, well, they're moving up the food chain now, they're going to end up, no, they're not going to indict her. Loretta Lynch Mob, the Attorney General, will never convene a grand jury. You can take that to the bank. That will never, ever, that will never happen. I don't know, that might be a good thing. Get the eclipse of the face. If anyone thinks Hillary's going to jail in this climate, no, she's not. She's the presumptive winner. She is absolutely going to win this election. I don't see, unless there's some major change in fortune, there's no way. Now, here's what I'm hoping the Trump movement will do. What I'm hoping that it'll do is we wake up tens of millions of people to what's going on. Trump opens their eyes, we open their ears and hearts. Now when she takes over next January, what I think she was planning to do, false flag ISIS domestic terrorist attacks, then linking us with those people who are domestic terrorists, bootstrap ISIS right onto our heads, and begin the gathering. And you know what I mean by the gathering. Yeah, I'm talking about FEMA camps. She's the one to do it. She is the biggest sociopath I've seen in politics in some time. She'll have no compunction to do this.
Ever.
Right.
If we can raise an army of patriots in mind, body, and spirit, and I'm not even talking voting bloc, her task of silencing the opposition, and you know everything right now is about taking away the First Amendment. Everything. If you talk about Muslim extremists, Loretta Lynch said, we're coming after you. If you speak against the BLM and your name is Bundy, or you know someone named Bundy, we're coming after you. They're after the First Amendment. When the First Amendment goes, then the Second Amendment's gone. And then they begin to gather up people, because it's now legal to do so, because you have no constitutional rights, it's just the power of the state. This is what Hillary Clinton represents. We need to get the sounds of marching feet walking with us, or everyone in this area here, everyone who visits a website called InfoWars, Freedom's Phoenix, The Common Sense Show, you're in some danger. My insider sources tell me that when the NSA tracks us, they score us continually. 16 different subdomains of scores with an aggregate score based on your perceived threat to the establishment. Of course, they call it a national security threat, but we all know what it means. National security means you fall into line with the establishment, or you're on their you-know-what list. And this is what we all are being set up for. And Hillary Clinton, I believe, is the knockout punch. Obama was used as the setup man. He was the eighth inning reliever. Hillary will be the closer if we let her.
Don't forget Bush.
Well, Bush was a stooge who allowed legislation to go into place. But Bush isn't smart enough to pull you-know-what out of his you-know-what boot.
Right.
Bush was basically just along for the ride and let it happen. Obama's been complicit. Hillary will take this to a whole new level. And I think we have a real opportunity here, though, with Trump, to take what he's saying, free trade agreements, for example. And I think we have the ability to educate the average person. This is how bad it is. Because there's many different doors that you can open to enter the world of the New World Order and understand what's going on. For me, it was having my property stolen, or almost stolen. It can be anything. And once we open a door for an individual that Trump is making so readily available to us, then they can begin to discover it's all a lie. Everyone here knows everything you're told in the media is a lie. Everything. The Federal Reserve is a lie. Okay, what Congress does is a lie. Everything is a lie. It's nothing as you're told it is. And it took me a lot of years to figure that out. I used to think there was a political solution to this mess. There's not. I mean, you ask me philosophically what I think. Maybe there's a spiritual solution. And someday that'll come. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime. But there's no political solution. But we have to act as if it is. Because the people that will be coming to us in the next several weeks are going to look for solutions. Now, whether we think we can turn this around and whether we believe we've reached the point of no return is irrelevant. We have to act as if we can turn this around because we need to have allies. It's in everyone's best interest. That'll slow Hillary down. Maybe it'll even affect her from becoming elected. You know, Bernie is the plan B. He's not a very good one. I don't care how many young people like him, how much they think socialism is chic and it's cool. Okay, everyone over 40 knows you can't afford to be a liberal. At least ones with a brain. I just honestly think we have been given the golden goose. This is the gift we've been waiting for. I've been saying for years, what's the breakthrough going to be? I'd hoped it was Ron Paul. He was the right man at the wrong time with the wrong set of circumstances. Now we have, and I wish Ron Paul and Trump could change places. I wish it was Trump in 08, and I wish it was Ron Paul today. But unfortunately, we have to take the gift horse we're given at the time we're given it. And I think that when we're looking at Trump, it is what we've been offered. And it's not perfect. By any means, it's not perfect. I mean, when you look at if you look at him as a real presidential candidate, his defense strategies, what defense strategies? The little bit he says has more holes than a Swiss cheese factory. There's problems there. But there's value. His tax plan is reasonable. It's something that the rich are going to run from like crazy. Remember Warren Buffett when he said, I shouldn't have to pay less tax than my $40,000 a year secretary. His plan corrects a lot of that, if it's enforced. Good luck getting it through Congress, right, when they show up with the lobbyists, show up with the money. But the reality is here is we really have to go into overdrive. If you don't have a website or a talk show, it doesn't matter. You have a voice. And you have to redouble your efforts with your neighbors and friends, and mostly with your family. They're the ones that tend to doubt us the most when they're on that learning curve. And we really have to reach out and pull people into the movement. I don't know that we'll ever have another time until we go under complete tyranny. This may be the last gasp. And I don't mean to sound alarmist, but I've been waiting now I've been doing this since 2003 pretty heavily. So I've been waiting 13 years, and there's never been an opportunity like this. And I've got people showing up, talking to me, email, message board on my website, communicating me in various ways. People who I know aren't sophisticated in the ways of the world. They bought into the Fox and CNN reality of things, but they're starting to ask some of the right questions. And this is the incumbent responsibility that all of us who are awake face. Because do I need to remind anybody how dangerous these people are? Should we talk about Scalia for a minute? You all know the story.
Yeah.
Okay, required to travel with 2 federal marshals. Where were they? Federal marshals should have prevented his body from having anything done with it. Found with a pillowcase on his face. You know what that is? That's not a sloppy crime scene, people. That's a message killing. We can get to anybody, anytime. That's what the pillowcase was. And you embalm him before you can do anything with the body. And it comes a week after the climate change defeat. A day after he talks to Obama. I mean, how many coincidences do you want to buy? Someone asked me, I was on Ted Broer's show, Health Masters, on Global Star Network where I broadcast. And Ted said, do you think they'll kill Donald Trump? Bernie was addressing it too. I wrote about this, oh gosh, I think it was probably August of last year. He'll end up like RFK if he gets any traction in his campaign. That's what I was saying. This is before we had any real numbers. They can't allow his message to come to fruition. I think we can even narrow down the time frame when he's in danger. They're going to try to broker this convention by hook or crook. And once it gets into brokering, they can negate Trump right there. His candidacy will be over. But here's the question the elite have to answer. How much time do you want to go from now until August and have people wake up? How many millions do you want to bring to the process who believed everything you were telling them until Donald Trump opened his mouth? He could be in danger now. I originally said I thought if he got the nomination, September was his problem. And then, of course, too, there's something else we haven't mentioned, but let's call it what it is, because we're among friends here. We all know what's going on. I'm out there in public, with the uneducated audience in these areas. I might put this in different terms, but if anybody thinks that Chris Christie is not establishment, then you're not following Chris Christie. Why is Chris Christie Trump's number 2 guy? And that's really, he'll be the presumptive VP nominee, I believe. I mean, he was tied into the very people who executed the MF Global fraud. He's friends with all these guys. They play golf together. They hang out together. The guy is a criminal. He cavorts with mafia when he was governor of New Jersey. I mean, there's no question who this guy is. You inherit that when you take over the Senate seat, the governor's seat, New Jersey. This is what New Jersey is. Chicago on the East Coast. And I'm thinking, why would you do that, Donald? Well, let's talk about it. Maybe if he feels he needs Christie as mainstream guy to pull in more people to vote for him, that's possible. And maybe it's Trump's desire to get more of a market share in the voting bloc, because Christie will certainly bring that. And here, ask yourself, this is not suspicious. Trump is being vilified in every angle, from every direction, from everybody connected to the Republican Party in a position of leadership. Why are they leaving Christie alone? So you got 2 humans in the ocean, and the sharks are circling, and they're only going to attack one of them? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's why I look at Christie as a possible plan. In what context? That's very debatable. Could it be that if Trump gets elected, he is Reaganized? Boy, they complete the job in front of the Hinckley people? That is an amazing connection that was made this morning. That's purely amazing. It had not occurred to me. I'm embarrassed to admit I missed it.
That was Gary's thing, man.
That was amazing. But, it could be President Christie a la LBJ. I just don't know how long the elite, though, can let Donald Trump go. But here's another possibility, and I wrote about this very, very early on, and I have not walked away from this. I'm going to endorse Trump's views, but let's be honest, since we're talking amongst friends here. Trump does have a relationship with the Clintons, or did. And it was a strong relationship, a strong personal relationship. Now, Ted Cruz lied about it in the debates the other day. I mean, the fact checks show that Trump wrote one $600 check to Hillary Clinton and $1,000 to McCain. So he still favored the Republican side on his gift giving. And somehow they left that out of the debate when he was saying, not 1, but 2, but 10 times. It wasn't 10 checks. That was an absolute lie. But the fact is, there's a relationship. They attended each other's parties, their weddings. If Trump's mission was to come in and destroy the Republican Party so Hillary can waltz into the White House, bad reputation and all notwithstanding, it's a hell of a plan. Because I'd say it's working. Because when she clears the Democratic Party, if the Republicans are still in turmoil, she'll waltz right to victory. The Republicans won't recover in 3 months. So I can't discount the fact that that's not happening. But that doesn't change what we need to do. Trump is opening doors to people's hearts and minds that you and I do not have access to. And we will soon have it. So that's really mostly what I wanted to talk about today, was the fact that Trump is really bringing us such a great opportunity. Excuse me, and it's one that I really don't think we'll see again in our lifetime. Ernie, I don't know how much time we have, but
Hour.
an hour.
Yeah, you got an hour. You're good.
I don't know if my voice is going to last an hour.
We'll do some Q&A.
Until I go into my Hillary Clinton coughing fit here. And I've had a couple of those this week. Yes?
I see Christie, when I look at him, I see Ruby, Jack Ruby.
Well, they come, I think, from similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Ruby came out of the Al Capone mafia family. And Christie is tied into mafia figures.
What do you think about Christie being AG, or Chief of Staff, or Supreme Court? I mean, they promised him something.
He's going to be somebody. I would say he's going to be the running mate.
Oh, God.
That would be my guess. If it gets that far, I think he's the running mate. Yes.
Two things. Number one, I disagree about him being VP because it's not geographically correct. It's too close to New York.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Number two, they need somebody in the West Coast, something like that. Number two, what's your take on Ted Cruz?
Well, his wife is VP of Goldman Sachs. He sleeps with the enemy. Mrs. Bailout, as I like to call her. So I think that kind of answers that question. Ted Cruz is an abject liar. I mean, let's look at the debate for a second. This is a whole dynamic that I'll give you one example about how rigged this debate was. For me, Trump's cornerstone platform is keeping jobs in America and stopping the flight of corporations from moving overseas. So who did they ask the question to? Chris Wallace asked Ted Cruz. He did not ask Donald Trump, and that's his main deal. That was done by design. That was done to obfuscate the truth and keep Trump from saying more than they wanted the American people to hear on this issue. They don't want free trade agreements explained. Boy, have they ever disguised that event very cleverly? Free trade? Free trader agreements is what they are. Yes?
Okay, the follow-up is naturally, what do you think of Rubio and Kasich?
Kasich is an interesting guy. He is coming across as the voice of moderation. He doesn't have a snowball's chance, but I think he's in there like the after net in fishing to pick up the fish that you miss in the original net, and those fish are delegates. And when they get to a brokered convention, here you go, Ted. So I think Ted is going to be the candidate out of the Republicans, my guess, if it gets to a brokered convention. I hope no one holds the illusion, if it goes to a broker deal at the Republican convention, Trump has no chance. Unless he has 51% of the votes to go in. He has no chance. If he's below 50, he will lose. Yes?
Rubio, what about Rubio?
Ted Cruz being born in Calgary, there's an article out there that suggested that he's being groomed to be the leader, the president of the North American Union between the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
Well, we already have a North American Union.
Right, but
We signed that in 2005.
right, but he's groomed now. He's the one who's groomed now with his wife at Goldman Sachs, with Heidi at Goldman Sachs, and him. And when I read that, I thought that does make a lot of sense.
I tend to agree with you.
Canadian born, and he's an American citizen, but he's not a natural born American citizen.
Repeat for the video what the comment he made.
The question is, his statement was that Ted Cruz, born in Canada, and is now a citizen. Was he born in Canada, actually?
Yeah.
But to American parents, right?
No, his mother was born in Delaware, and
Yeah.
his father was born in Cuba. I don't know.
There's their controversy right
I
there.
don't know if Raphael was naturalized at the time Ted was born. His father, Raphael, was working as an engineer in Canada.
Right. That's the controversy right there. Is he really a citizen? But the point you were making, and I'm repeating for the camera, was that he's being groomed to be the head of the North American Union. That's very likely. I mean, that's going to happen. But, you said this once, Ernie, about 10 years ago, that we might skip the, what were we calling that? Amero to go to the Worldo. That's what Ernie said 10 years ago. We're going to skip the Amero and just go to the Worldo. And I'm not so sure that's not right. Because we are headed for a global economic collapse. Does anybody doubt that?
No.
Well, you better have some gold and silver. But we are headed for that. And if it happens, why would you need to regionalize anything? You just worldize it all. Yes, in the back?
Yeah, I've got a question. What do you think the probability is that we're going to have a war in the Middle East in the next few years? To build up of troops all around?
Okay, the question was, what are we facing a war in the Middle East? Well, there's 3 hot spots as I see it. South China Sea with Korea and China, and Korea is, China's puppet state, of course. And this is why they're being provocative. It's China mouthing off. It's not Korea. Let's see that for what it is. Ukraine, of course, and Ukraine is kind of a buffer to invasion of Eastern Europe. That's where the NATO versus the old Warsaw Pact, old resurgence of the Soviet Union could come in. But if you were to ask me, and it's biblical, where World War III would start, it will be in Syria. And now that we have opposing forces working within the same borders, that chance went up exponentially. Yes?
What's your take on Vladimir Putin?
He does some things for his country that I wished were being done for our country. But let's keep in mind who he is as a person, because we have people in this country who have vilified me. And I mean, a prominent website owner won't even mention my name because I won't honor the good graces of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is ex-KGB and all that meant. They morphed into the Russian mafia, where they ran the Russian economy for 20 years on black market principles. Assassination of journalists and political opponents is common to this group, particularly Putin. I've documented on my website incidences of why his wife left him, the philandering, the wife beating, okay, other kinds of abuse. And I'm not trying to just demean him personally. I'm saying this is the mindset you're dealing with. He is very dangerous as an adversary. He knows how to be popular at home, flat tax, controls immigration, Russia first. Stuff that people in a country, the native-borns, want to hear. But in terms of dealing with us, he'd have no compunction to exterminate us if he could. He is one bad dude.
And us, them too. It works 2 ways.
Well, can I use the word you used earlier? Compared to Obama compared to Putin, Obama's a pussy.
Oh, sure.
Oh, God, yeah.
Putin would kick his fanny every single time. I don't think Obama strikes terror in the heart of the Chinese and Russian leadership. But Putin strikes terror in my heart because I know what he's capable of. He's a sociopath. Yes, Jim?
He's against the world order, is he not?
He says he is.
That's right.
But if anyone thinks you're going to stay in office for long and not cozy up to the bankers in some avenue, some alley, think again. It's a different flavor of the New World Order. Whether Russia takes over the world by war, which will never happen, or whether we do by war, which will never happen, you're still going to have the bankers running the show. That's not going to change. They fund both sides. They control both sides. So people that say that Putin is independent of international banking, they don't really understand world politics.
Just a different smoke.
I'm sorry?
Different smoke. Just a smoke screen.
Yeah, it's part of the deception. He's offered as the alternative candidate for the world to gather behind. I mean, he's an attractive piece for the BRIC nations people to follow. Anti-American imperialism, economic arrogance. Look at Putin. Look how moderate he's appearing to be. And he attracts the BRIC nations and the people in the BRIC nations to him because of that. Do you know that 32 nations in Latin America ignored the United States and Canada? 32 out of 34. They had a meeting last year and didn't invite us or Canada. And out of these 32 nations, 13 of them have direct military alliances in exchange of equipment and personnel, military personnel, on their home soil. And I'm speaking, Nicaragua, Brazil, and so forth. 13. Putin has managed to undermine our entire Latin American defense structure. And if people don't think Red Dawn is not a real possibility, go watch the movie again, because they will be coming up our southern border. You make no mistake about it. That's one kind of provocative thing if Trump does build the wall. It's going to cause more anger. and more likelihood that that's going to get popular support. But we will be attacked through our southern border. We will also be attacked through Alaska. Do you know what, before I take any more questions, I think that I should talk about this because it hasn't come up in 4 years. And I wrote about it 4 years ago, no one wanted to pay attention. Maybe now people will listen because of the crisis the world's in. Obama gave away 7 rich Alaskan islands, oil-rich islands, but 2 of them are very strategic militarily for an amphibious invasion of Alaska. He's also militarized parts of the North Pole above Alaska, so he can launch an invasion to the north. There's also that time of year when you have the Alaskan land bridge. And also Obama suspended the F-22 flights that were patrolling the coastline. Could have replaced them with the 16s or the 35s, and he didn't. He's also greatly reduced the amount of submarine patrols. He's closed so many bases in Alaska that the governor of Alaska has formed his own commission to try to convince the BRAC commission that closes bases to keep the remaining bases open. Alaska has been gutted for invasion. So you can see quite clearly, and this people wonder why I call Obama a traitor. Obama has set up Alaska to be invaded. That'll be the northern portal of invasion into this country. You know, I wrote an article and said the 7 prongs of invasion that will come to America, and I just mentioned 2 of them. One of them will be the Red Dawn scenario, with these Latin American states that are aligning with Russia, and of course Russia will cross the Alaskan land bridge. I mean, if things start, and it's more like when things start, it's going to be ugly. China will move on Taiwan, North Korea will move on South Korea, Russian tanks will roll into Ukraine and into Eastern Europe, and I think the Europeans will run scared just like they have in the past. And don't get me wrong, the Poles will fight. There's a few nations that'll fight, but most of them will throw down their arms and capitulate. And NATO will be defeated. NATO's being undermined right now. Russia's manipulating the natural gas market to the point to where Germany, it makes more sense for them to drop out of NATO and become Russia's primary trading partner. I mean, that makes perfect sense right now. And I think if the German leadership could get away with it, they would. Yes?
What's your take on all of these refugees overrunning all of Europe?
Well, it's by design.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is one area where Trump makes a great deal of sense again. Create a safe zone. Let's get an international military force to protect these people and put them in camps, feed them, treat them humanely. Hopefully the crisis will abate and they can go back home and rebuild. But no, we're going to flood the democratized countries. Why are they sending them to the Western democracies? What has to fall before you can have a new world order? Western democracy. That's what has to go away. This is by design. They're deculturizing the West with Muslim immigrants. And you've seen the pictures. 98% males.
Yeah.
They look like Russian Spetsnaz commandos or Olympic soccer players. They don't look like refugees who haven't eaten in 3 days. And where are their women and kids? What did they do? These brave men left their women and kids at home in their home country?
Yeah.
And they just decided to go to Europe. And folks, they're here. And here's my big objection. Not screening them. And I wish Donald would make this more of an issue. I know he's mentioned it, but it needs to be out there. We are letting people into this country from a region of the world who has proclaimed active intentions, evil intentions against us. They've carried out some of these evil intentions in the past. How do you not screen these people? You can't go to a Diamondbacks game without being frisked. Yet we're not even giving the same level of security to immigrants coming in from terrorist areas. It's incredible. We're being overrun. And this will be the 5th column that will start massive terrorism in this country. And like I said, I'll repeat this again. When that happens, they're going to bootstrap those events right to this community, and we're going to be the domestic terrorists, and this is how they'll get us out of the way. This is why Hillary Clinton's presidency scares me so much. Yes?
When Trump was here in July, there was a group, about 35 people at a restaurant after the event. Alan Corn was there, and he had a friend with him. His name was John. I don't know anything else about him.
Former CIA.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And I heard this before last summer, but I'd never been able to really verify it because sometimes I think we all go to the same well of misinformation, of disinformation, so it's difficult. But what he said that, and I knew about Chavez setting up a school for Middle Easterners, a Spanish-only school in Venezuela. It's a 2-year total complete immersion course. They come out speaking perfect Central American Mexican Spanish, not Castilian Spanish, but perfect Mexican Spanish. They then come over here. He said right now that there are 50 cells. Now he said he was a CIA intelligence operative. That was his sector. What he said, and if Alan believes him, I have a tendency to really trust the information from the guy, that they have 50 cells right now in our country in the various cities waiting for something to happen so that they can all attack us. Have you ever been able to verify any of that?
I don't need to verify it.
Yeah.
The FBI director said prior to the July 4th holiday weekend last summer that they had active reports on terrorist cells in all 50 states. I don't think we need to go any further than that. One can extrapolate how serious that could be. And we're doing nothing about it. Obama's more worried about arresting the Bundys than he is ISIS terrorists who will do infinite damage. I mean, what have the Bundys done? And I'm glad we brought up the Bundys by the wayside here too. To show you how far things have progressed under this administration with the evisceration of civil liberties. They're not arresting people who just took over the Federal Wildlife Refuge building. That's criminal trespass. And when you do it with a gun, it's felony criminal trespass. And I think it's a mistake. I wish the Bundys and his group hadn't done that part of it. I think they could have gone up to private land and accomplished the same thing, because they were doing good work. I had Ammon on my show. And Ammon said, we went on a property today and removed BLM fences that allowed a guy free access to his land where he was getting killed economically. And why'd they shut him off? Because they were pulling uranium out of the mines on that land. And by the way, you know this story, don't you? Uranium One? Okay, if you don't know the story, I first ran with this after I read it in the New York Times, and I went and I was able to confirm this. Uranium One is a Canadian company basically owned by the Russians, but they report to the Clintons and they service the Clintons and the other elite. And they're taking uranium and selling the uranium to the Russians in Clinton's name, and she was turning the money back into the Clinton Foundation for her presidential run. Uranium, nuclear weapons, there was a little case called the Ethel Julius Rosenberg case from the 50s. They executed Ethel Rosenberg for trading in state secrets. Well, what is it? Yeah, Waltham. What do you think it is when someone's selling nuclear material to our potential enemies, to a leader who has threatened to nuke us 5 times in the last 3 years? It's just incredible. I ran with it. Well, the New York Times ran that story. It's funny, it disappeared. There was no follow-up. But I ran with that. No one really paid attention. But this is why I saw the Bundy issue up there for what it was. They're extracting minerals for the benefit of the elite while they continue to collapse this country. See, what they're doing is they're collapsing the country economically. They're sucking the life out of it with free trade agreements. But on the other hand, they're having a great big garage sale every single day as they plunder our resources. I've got sources, and I publish this on my website as well. There's an estimated $128 trillion of mineral wealth beneath our ground. You don't think we could use that money? But that's being stolen from us, given to the Chinese, given to political cronies like Clinton, and we're being robbed blind on our way to our own economic and national demise. So that's my response. Now with the Bundys, I talked to Ammon enough to know, and I talked to Shauna Cox, who was in the fated car, which Lavoy Finicum was shot when he exited with his hands up. They were sincere in bringing attention to the federal abuse of private rancher land, and it's going on all through the West. See, this is what the establishment doesn't want you to know, and this is what Donald Trump should be talking about. He should mention 3 words: State of Jefferson. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
19 counties in southern Oregon and northern California that want to form a 51st state so they can better battle the BLM and this abuse on rancher and farmer land. This is all over the West, folks. This isn't just the Bundys. It's just not the Hammonds. It's all ranchers. And what was it I read that of Ammon, Cleveland Bundy's original 52 neighbors, ranchers, 51 are out of business now. They're off their land. I mean, this is what's going on all across our country. Their cause was noble, but they made a fatal flaw. You can't give the government legal access to you by knowingly committing a crime, and that trespass was a crime. If they would have just gone and built a temporary structure on someone's private land that they agreed with, they'd still be there, and the federal government would have a hell of a time unseating them. And they wouldn't. These guys will never see the light of day again. For criminal trespass, they're denying bond. We let people out on manslaughter charges on bond, and they're not letting the Bundys out for criminal trespass. Yes.
C.J. Hardy, in her book, The Range Magazine, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
No.
We brought up that it's about for the people for the West, talking about the rangelands, mostly in 17 Western states. And she made a very, very cogent remark. She quoted someone and said that here they're charging the Bundys, the Hammonds up there, and requiring they serve the 5 years in prison for domestic terrorism after they served 3 months and a year and a day, and they paid their $400,000 fine. She says now they're charging them, all those people with domestic terrorism, but not one person in Baltimore or Ferguson has been charged with domestic terrorism. I get confused. I don't know what domestic terrorism is.
Yeah, I didn't know ISIS was headed by Cliven Bundy. I mean, this is what we're looking at here.
Yeah. Well, and then Hammond is, Cliven is the leader, and Hammond is his lieutenant. Yeah, it's insane.
Well,
how do you wake anybody up?
I think Ernie's comment earlier was very provocative when he was talking about the Libertarian candidates. And he was talking about the one that says, what was the guy's name who said he couldn't...
Daryl Parrott.
Yeah, he says, I couldn't swear allegiance to the United States. Look, after we wake up millions of people, like I said, I don't believe in the political solution. I mean, if it's an opportunity and there's a 2% chance, I'll participate in it. But I'm not hopeful. I mean, you're down 20 points with a minute to go in the game. But when I look at this, I think Perry's right on the money. We need to stop playing in their game. We need to become independent. We need to become autonomous. We need to, as many of us need to get off the grid as possible, no matter how hard they try to keep us on. I mean, Jim and I have a neighbor that APS told him that he couldn't quit. So we'll make you stay on. We'll take you to court. So I say to me, when we wake up these millions of people, that we collapse their own system for them, and we're the ones that will remain autonomous and independent. And the way you do it, you don't shop at the Kmarts, the Walmarts, and the Slave Marts. You go to Joe's Plumber Store. You raise your own stuff. You trade and barter. Who cares if they take away our cash if we don't need the cash because we're only dealing with each other? We set up a system of interrelated business networks where we bypass the federal government, the IRS. That'll collapse the system on its own.
You don't remember us trying that in the 70s, do you?
Yeah, but I think it was a good idea at the wrong time. Now the anger is there. I mean, look, you asked me about Kasich. In most years, I'd say, I want to hear more of what he has to say. He's had some success, he's got experience, he's aligned himself with some decent people. However...
Wants to bomb him.
Yeah. However,
Kick ass.
He's not going to... He right now couldn't motivate someone to put their shoes in the closet because people are pissed off and he's not tapping into the rage tree. And this is what a candidate has to do to get people on their side. Yes?
Yes, this is a real tough ball question for you. Global warming and climate change.
Bravo, Sierra.
How's it being used? Just explain how they're using it to do what we're talking about.
Okay, well, the guy who I'd refer you to, and I'm going to answer your question, but a man who's more eminently well-versed and better equipped to handle that question than I am is Patrick Wood of August Review, and he wrote a book called Technocracy Rising, and if you Google it, I've read the book twice. It's phenomenal.
Spoke here last month.
Yeah, Pat Wood is incredibly awesome. Now, let me just answer your question this way. Long story short, it's the old Hegelian dialectic. Let's create the problem, climate change, which happens naturally. And by the way, I've done projects in the Social 101 class I have without me saying a word. Go research how much CO2 man produces, and then what kind of mitigation effect can man have if we totally did away with all energy usage. The number is less than 5% on the first question and about 0.1% on the next question. So the fact is we can't do a darn thing about it. Now, what they want to do with climate change is get control of all your energy. That's what the smart grid's about. That's what the smart meters are about. They're going to, if you're washing your clothes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in July, at the same time you're running the dishwasher, they'll shut one of them off. I mean, this is what they're headed for. And eventually they want to reduce energy usage to nothing. They tell you, if you go to America2050.org, it's a website you all need to visit because it's run by Mike Kruglich, who was Obama's original mentor when he was doing community activist work in Chicago. And he consults with Obama on Agenda 21 implementations.
America what?
America2050.org. And in there, this is where this is headed, folks. He talks about 11 megalopolises. That's metropolitan centers combined, 11. Each one containing 6 million people by the year 2050. Do the math. That's a 90% reduction of population in this country. And that corresponds to what Deagle, which is a CIA front, DEAGEL, Deagle.com, says that we'll have about 1/10 the military by the year 2025 and about 10% of the population. Deagle's projecting we're going to lose a major war. They're not saying it, but their numbers say it.
That's only 10 years away. By the way.
Yeah, exactly. We're in big trouble in that regard. But when you look at Mike Kruglich, he's also a guy, I mean, he's huge, guys. You know these micro apartments? You know, you see them now on HGTV, 300 and 500 square feet apartment. They're going in all over the country. This is part and parcel. They want to stack and pack you in these 11 regions. And Kruglich is behind this. In fact, he's even created tax incentive programs that are in place in the Bay Area. They call the plan Bay Area 1. They have it in St. Paul and Minneapolis, where they're regionalizing the tax collections, and they're removing the taxes from the suburbs that they use for roads and improvements and charging higher gasoline tax in the suburbs, and they're moving that money to the inner city for development, and they're trying to make it too expensive and too inconvenient for people to stay in the suburbs. They're trying to force this compaction. And this is why we see all these land use ordinances with the BLM, and they're trying to force farmers off their land. I've been told by experts in the farming industry 15% of the farmers are quitting the business this year. You don't think we're going to have food shortages and escalating food prices? This is why you all need to be doing this. I'm behind the curve myself. Yes, and then you're next.
Dave, I think a few minutes ago you said that, excuse me, 95% of the Mideast refugees that you see coming into Europe are healthy-looking, young soccer player-type men. Where are the women and kids? Dave, that's absolutely ridiculous.
You don't see it?
You don't see the pictures?
I see it.
You don't see the newsreels?
Virtually every night of the week, I watch the PBS NewsHour where they show these people on life rafts and boats, and they're not 95% men. They're lots and lots of women and kids.
Send me data. Because the data I've read out of Germany, the data that I've read out of Sweden, we're talking about overwhelmingly predominant male and young male. And refugees, young men stay and fight, usually. Refugees are usually predominantly women, children, and the elderly.
Yeah, right.
And that's not what we're seeing in the pictures.
Dave, since you made the claim of the 95%, I think the burden of proof is on you, sir.
The burden of proof is in the photos.
You gotta see it.
Yeah.
You're right. You're on the
Pat, we get it.
PBS.
We get it. It's a lot of men young. There's no getting around that. A lot of men young are in these
military
pictures.
age.
Right.
The selective photography is to make you think there's a lot of women and children. It's selective photography and the people that take the picture.
Especially people.
Yes.
Yes. Go together.
I'd like to make a point about what he said and then about something you said.
Sure.
One is to support his idea is that in the Muslim culture, women are not supposed to be seen publicly. All right? Just a point. So you get the selective photography that way. And I think that isn't in play, although I will have to admit that there are an awful lot of military-aged men that have come into Europe. Now, another point. There's a lot of points that you make and a lot of your analysis that I agree with. But I would like to call your attention to an area where I think you're weak. And that point and that area is in the issue of Russia. Russia right now is our best strategic ally for fighting the freedom movement.
No, they're not.
And there's a lot of reasons that I could give on to that, so I'm not going to preach that. But I'd like to point out that I believe you're picking up too much CIA misinformation about Russia.
No,
And I'm
Putin is
repeating it.
now.
I think this is a danger
Yeah, let him
in
finish
what
his
they're
statement.
doing. That's all. That's my point. I just want to call your attention to that and hope that you'll have an open mind to taking a more careful look at how you're dealing with the question of Russia.
Putin
Yeah.
is an absolute tyrant. I mean, he
Amen.
is even able to prevent people from his own country from running for political office. Absolutely uses the government to quash any opposition.
Yeah, there's
Not
some,
like the RNC will do.
yeah, but we're not seeing entire apartment buildings bombed out under the RNC. I mean, at least there's a limit so far there. Listen, I'm open to what you're saying, and I said there's elements of Putin that I admire. The fact that he appeals to the nationalist urge of any people that live within a country. It's Russia first. But it's Russia first on his terms. The man is an absolute tyrant. And the man, and I've documented this so many times, and so clearly, I agree, but, the tyrant, as they say, and really, Obama and Putin are on the same side. It's about the destruction of the United States. And I think with the Alaska example I used earlier, that was made clear. But back to the refugee thing, to put a closure on this, if you brought refugees into this area here, and we call this a refugee compound, where would you hide the women? When you see the photos of these areas, they're overwhelmingly male. When I've talked to Border Patrol processing agents who speak to me off the record, they're not processing very many women and children coming into this country. It's just not happening. They're not processing many elderly. It's young males. This is what strikes them.
Young kids.
But yeah, they're in their 20s.
Yeah,
And their kids in
They're in their 20s, yeah.
military age.
And we also know, too, that a great many of them are not from Syria now. The anecdotal stories, and I realize anecdotes, not research, but the anecdotal stories coming out of these refugees is that many of them are not from Syria. So then this invasion is something other than what we're being told it is. And if they're going to lie to you about that, what else are they lying to you about?
Everything.
Yes.
Dave, are you familiar with the background of Angela Merkel? Because when she became, before she became the Chancellor of Germany, back in the bad old days of the German Democratic Republic, which I was there, she was a right-hand person for Walter Ulbricht, who was one of the worst communists that ever walked the planet. And now she's the Chancellor of Germany. She was placed there by the powers that be, who still control Germany, because we have never signed a peace treaty with Germany. We do with Japan. And that's the reason we still have occupation troops in Germany, to support Angela Merkel.
Well, I thought we had occupation troops in Germany because they're a signatory to NATO. And that's part of the
cover
agreement.
story. Yeah.
I think philosophically you have a point, not legally.
Well, listen,
Philosophically
I
with
spent a lot of time
Merkel,
in Germany.
yeah, let me finish this answer
Okay.
though.
Yeah.
Philosophically, Merkel has strong communist leanings. I mean, look at, if you put something in Facebook now that's anti-refugee, you can go to jail.
Oh, exactly.
Okay? So Merkel has those leanings. And if you were power establishment in Germany, and it made more sense for you to be Russia's ally than dependent on the West, Merkel's your bridge. She speaks the language of the other side. And that's why I said philosophically you have a point worth considering, but I don't know that that's proof. But I'm suspicious of it too. I wrote a speculation piece saying, will someday Germany leave NATO? And the point was, if we're going to have a war with Russia, we better have it now, because we lose Germany, we won't win in Europe. We probably won't win in Europe anyway. There's a whole lot of different reasons. Do you guys understand how bad Obama has gutted our military?
Yes.
How he has subverted cyber security. He's subverted cyber attack capabilities that we have, where the Russians have moved through unabated and now hold a superior edge over many of our forces. This is Obama's doing. So this is why I said 4 years ago or 3 years ago when he was elected, we can't take 4 more years of him, because I knew what he was doing to the military. This is why the military tried to overthrow him after Benghazi. Now, it was a small contingent. You know that story.
No.
Oh, it was the one that put me on the hot seat for 3 months. until Glenn Beck's people decided, oh, you know, Dave Hodges guy, we were criticizing him 3 months ago, calling him a wacko conspiracy theory. Well, we're just going to repeat what he said 3 months earlier. And that's what they did. And what ended up happening in Benghazi is Stevens knew he was a marked man. The minute that Hillary Clinton refused the first request to increase his security, and she cited money reasons in an administration that's putting us $19 trillion in debt. Okay, so you look at that, he knew he was a marked man. His activities of being a CIA agent while operating as an ambassador were becoming known. Gun running, drug running, I mean, he was behind the Libya deposing of Gaddafi. There's rumors out there that said he's even into child sex trafficking, or his operatives were. I mean, it's the full meal deal with him. And he was a liability to this administration. And they knew as early as 2011 that they might have to deal with him. This is why Hillary Clinton, on Aaron Klein's security emails he got from FOIA, where she was tracking his whereabouts. They wanted to know where he was and when he'd be vulnerable. And he made a deal with General Ham of AFRICOM and Admiral Guyette of Carrier Task Force 3 that if you come and get me, if I'm attacked, I'll sing like a canary. And why would the military want to do that? Because Obama was destroying the military leadership. No general, no admiral, no colonel, no major was safe. Their retirements were in jeopardy. Their careers are in jeopardy. They didn't need to be convinced. And so when the attack was starting, you know, Guyette had drones over the scene, surveilling. They were ordered back by Panetta. And Ham decided he was going to disobey Panetta's stand-down order, and he was going to have a mission launched with Rangers to rescue the people at the compound. Well, before that order could be executed, his second in command, unknown to him, was CIA, had just been put in there by Obama and Panetta, had him arrested. This is a well-documented story now. I ran with this story in October of 2012 based on insider sources I had, and I had it from two different sources, both high-ranking ex-military. One was former RSOF, very high-ranking, and they were telling me, Dave, go with this story. I sat on it for 2 weeks until they got so pissed off at me. They said, if you don't run it, we're not going to give you anything again. You will be vindicated. And so I ran with the story, and by February 1st of 2013, then this information started to come out. But the military wanted to grab Stevens. They were going to flip him publicly, and this would have forced a Watergate, well, it made Watergate look like a recess. And this would have put this entire administration in the toilet. That was a coup of opportunity. Now, I made the mistake at the time thinking, God, we almost got it done. We almost got him out of there. This Obama's destroying our military. He's killing our country. We can do it again. And it was explained to me, no, we can't do it again. And this will kind of bring me full circle to where I started. I was told by my sources that this was a coup of opportunity, that they can't launch a military coup because they don't have the popular support of the people. And I said, because we're too dumbed down? Yes, because we're too dumbed down. See, this is the opportunity Donald Trump is giving us. We wake up enough people, and I don't advocate for military coups, but if you know another way that we can stop this train wreck from going over the cliff, I don't know another way. Other than dropping out. Other than dropping out. My point being this, Trump is waking up enough people to where, let's say someone like Hillary goes on the attack against us when she becomes president. Will the military act in our defense? Well, they think so. I don't know how many of you know about UX, Unconventional Warfare Exercise 16. It's Jade Helm extended from Jade Helm 15. It's being planned right now, and I've got an article on my website. Just put in UX 16. And if you go read that, you'll see clearly it's about fighting a civil war. Well, who would you fight a civil war against on American soil inside the state of Texas? You'd be fighting against the American military, of course. And this is the scenario I think we're headed towards. If we wake up enough people and the roundups start and all hell breaks loose in this country like we've all been talking about here since I've been coming to Freedom's Phoenix. I remember one time, Ernie, you said when we were over at Paradise Valley, at that restaurant there, you said something about it might be time to learn how to adapt and not to change. You know, we've entered that phase now where we're not going to be able to push back, that we're going to have to, you know, like if you're on the other side of the fence, I know you not, and we got to be smart about how we proceed. Well, we're at that point. And this is when you look at UX and all that's going on and everything in combination and taking everything into context, the other side is planning for us to revolt along with the military. Why else would they be doing these drills?
Can I ask you, there's been some talk about Pete Santilli, who got arrested and he's in jail up there, part of that he's kind of on the other side, and that some of the people in Ammon, I think, has even said, you know, we dropped the ball on that. We let somebody in that shouldn't have.
Yeah, McConnell.
Yeah, shouldn't have come in, McConnell.
Yeah. Well, I agree with McConnell. With Santilli, I don't have an opinion. I know Pete a little bit. I don't know him well. I've been on a show. I've talked to him a few times. I talked to him as he was headed up there. He contacted me, let me know he was going. I don't know his heart, and I'm not in a position to make a judgment on that. Yes?
Why do you think that Rand Paul dropped out right before the New Hampshire primary? It just seems so
Sell out.
beside, you know, why I mean, that would be a state. I mean, does that seem kind of bizarre, or?
Yeah, I wrote an article back, oh gosh, around 08, almost 12. Last time Ron Paul really had a chance. And it's all running together, but I basically said Rand is no Ron. And he's not. Yeah, I don't hate Rand Paul, but he is no Ron Paul.
I don't love him either, but I mean, being out of the group, he's the most common sense of all of them, and the fact that he wouldn't just at least go to New Hampshire, I mean, like, why? It was just one more week.
Right.
What they that?
He's on the record with the TPP. He's on the record with some criticisms on free trade agreements. And my thinking is this, is that someone invited him not to continue, because it's one thing to have your lone nut, Trump. But if you got a lone nut plus an accomplice, you got a movement. And that'll attract more people. Because now you can't just vilify the lone nut, you got to vilify both of them. That was my theory on why he dropped out, was to separate his voice of reason from Trump's.
Well, he didn't like Trump.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what he likes, it's what he was saying. Okay, I don't care what their feelings are towards each other, but when they're both talking about the same issues, that's what the other side doesn't want to see. They don't want to see too many Republicans embracing what Trump is talking about. Yes?
Yeah, just one last thing. If you haven't seen House of Cards on Netflix, you've got to watch the show.
The new fourth season started yesterday.
It's amazing.
I've
Absolutely awesome. It shows you how these people operate at that level. It's amazing.
Well, I'll leave you with a movie recommendation too, and Ernie, thanks for having me. I really appreciate
We're going
it.
to do more Q&A.
But I want to leave you with a recommendation too. But you better go mentally sharp. If you haven't seen the movie The Big Short,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
and listen, and you know what they had to get through the censors. Did you see when they were talking about the criminal activity to bundle the mortgages and all, how they bet against the country and the economy? And they get to the end, and in print, no one said this, no naked girl in a bubble bath, they got your attention during the movie. But at the end, they had it up there on the screen, it's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that at the end. Most people were walking out when this was playing. That's how they got it through the censors. Listen, they're going to try to rape the economy one more time with one more set of bailouts. This time it'll involve your retirement, your banking, your pensions, everything. And they're going to go for it one more time, guys. And they told you that in the movie The Big Short.
Yeah, The Big Short is a movie you got to see twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yes.
Dave,
Yeah,
early in your presentation, you implied that Justice Scalia was murdered. What was the government's explanation for this?
Oh,
We don't want to know, didn't find out, ship and then bomb and cremate the body, or, mow it, Waco down with a bulldozer and we're done, pay no attention, don't ask that question.
And all the phones were out.
I agree with Ernie. It was hear no evil, see no evil.
And all the telephones were out. That's part of the country.
Even though the guy was almost 80 years old and probably 80 pounds overweight, it was bizarre that this old man who's so fat would die. God,
It's like Romney standing in front of the Hinckley logo. It's like that is, Hunter secret handshake buddy. These are messages. It may be from God.
Yeah. How many 80-pound overweight, almost 80-year-old men die with a pillowcase on their face without their required federal protection, without an autopsy of a senior federal official.
State law, you gotta have an autopsy.
State of Texas, it had to happen.
Yeah,
That's the law.
that's the law.
Those aren't usual circumstances. The question is, how much BS can you pile upon how much BS until you say you have a conspiracy?
No doubt. I mean,
Yes.
Have you read the series of articles that Veterans Today has had on the Scalia death?
Yeah, be careful there.
The tie-in.
I'm going to tread lightly on this, but be careful. They reported on Friday that Abedin, the aide, the Veterans Today, Stu Webb reported that she had been indicted, Hillary's primary aide. No, they gave immunity to Pagliano. That was the story, and it was misreported. I wrote a correcting piece. I don't want to get into you-know-what match with them, but the fact is when we're having new people come to our sites and our broadcasts, we need to try to be as factual as possible. If Hillary Clinton's top aide was indicted, that would be monumental news, but I don't believe that's ever going to happen. Look at Loretta Lynch has to convene a grand jury, and she never will. And look for Obama to maybe even nominate her for Supreme Court. Just a guess. That's a good way to get her out of the way, make her silent. And John Carlin, our number 2 guy, the Assistant Attorney General, is also on the record against free speech and not criticizing immigration and Muslim extremists and so forth. Nothing will change.
Hillary's aides are gonna be the patsies and the fall guys.
Maybe.
They're gonna take the fall for it.
I got to wonder if Pagliano is going to suffer the fate of Vince Foster. That's my belief.
right.
You better watch at 6 o'clock, I'll tell you that.
Don't you wish we could have a press conference like this with real candidates? Wouldn't that be something? That we actually had Ted Cruz up here and say, hey Ted, before you retire at night, what do you and your wife talk about? How many times are you going to bail out the...
Tomorrow of the world!
There you go, yeah.
Okay.
My friend, thank you.
Thank you, David. We got a little bit more time. We need to give it to Frank, to Frank a little bit here and have him, we got the drawing. We'll do the drawing, but I tell you, there's a book over there called The Miskatonic Manuscript by Ben Sopranowitz. And it's what if we had a drug war and the people fought back? So it's an interesting, read. This is, this whole election season, the one thing that I want to make sure that we all get out of it, the one thing that I want to make sure we get out of this is what are we seeing as a trend or progression? What is it we're witnessing? What have we seen? Is this connective to anything that's happened before? Is there something that we can look at and see that's being repeated? What's being repeated is the propaganda that they repeat all the time. We're getting the same message, just saying there's some outside and internal threat. There's some reason, methodology that we got to give more power to a central chancellor if we rule you. There's going to be the brown shirts of we got it, you have to, and it's going to take the form of the state, and without us you wouldn't have universal health care. How's that working out? You wouldn't have a military to save us against all those bad people that want to do us harm. You wouldn't have the shiny badges and the uniforms and always available gun with the guy with the clipboard that's going to tell you what you can and can't do with your property. You wouldn't, it's building up to the point to where they go, well, Ernie, what are you, an anarchist? Compared to what? That's my choice? None of this? Or what we got? Or more of it? Or a more central plan? Or another 5 years of we rule? You see, that's my choice. So for these young people, they're just like, man, I pox on all your houses. We don't even need to replace you with nothing. We just need to make you obsolete. We're over here now. We're trading this way. We're producing our own this way. We're thinking this way. We're raising our kids this way. We're providing for our own health care this way. We're learning not to use this lotion and potion and notion of the government injecting into our flesh of how our children are even thinking. Changing the way we are as human beings, because it will take nothing less than that for them to take over our minds and our culture. It's culture. What happens if you have all these young people invading all these countries, and sooner or later, everybody just comes to the conclusion that, you know what?
Can't we all just get along? There's an app for that. I bet it's called that. Get Along app.
You have to go along too.
Get along. Go along. Well, the go along thing, I don't think that's working very well.
Get along, go along, get along.
So my thing is that as much as the more, I used to say this a lot in the 90s when the Libertarians would run for office, I go, controversy creates commitment. Because until you discuss it and you get down to what the real issue is, you can't really have an opinion on where your hard, solid principles are. So I love this. But what they, them, those won't leave us alone, what do they have? Well, it's more of the same of the elite and the guy with the shiny silk tie that got up and said what you're supposed to think, and we know what you're supposed to think because we said it, and it's on the media of we got mainstream media that's so last century of what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go and what the people are going to... And people, what's going to become vogue, what's going to become popular, what's going to become chic is a bunch of individuals that have their own idea of how they want to pursue their own happiness, and there's going to be mechanisms for doing that. Digital currencies are taking off all over the world. Yes, I think they're going, when they were doing, we were working on a lot of, what happened was Karen Johnson, she's a state senator here before she retired, she was like, this Amero thing's coming. We're going to lose our ability to, have control over our own currency as if we ever had that. And we're going to lose our sovereignty, and it's going to go to the North American thing. And Ernie, what can we do? You're creative, come up with something. I go, I know what you can do. So Pal Gamble, senior editor, and I modeled some legislation after Oklahoma where they did their sesquicentennial, 150, I think it's sesquicentennial, anniversary. They had a brass medallion or something that they gave away. And I go, we can do that for Arizona Centennial. And this was in 07, 08. This was like January of 08. She had talked to me in December and we came up with it and she introduced it. It was, what if we had a commemorative medallion in Arizona, silver, copper, gold? Minted in sufficient quantity to supply all public demand. Well, they kept taking that out. They kept changing it. They kept saying medallions. We want a medallion. I go, no, not to exceed 1 ounce. We want a different denomination. They did it. Finally, it's 2012. Boom, they did it. But then they put on all kinds of surcharges and $3,500 gold piece and on and on. They just went, I go, the capacity, and Jan DePaulo signed it. The capacity for Arizona to mint their own precious metal medallions exists right now. Why? It was because Karen wanted to demonstrate that you could. Well, then Utah comes in with an opportunity, and Idaho, and all these guys, Arizona did it. We wanted to demonstrate that because Karen was so worried about us losing it. I go, it doesn't matter if you're able to trade and barter and accept as taxes and pay your bill with precious metals. You do that, a state starts to do that because it says, it shall be gold, silver, coin. You can't do, blah, 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 blah. I'm going, it's happening. You can do it. It's demonstrated that we can do it. What's the problem? Who's against it? Where's the resistance? It's always just up here. It's just opinion. It's just the opinion that we can. We did. On the Arizona seal, our state seal, it's ranching, mining, and agriculture. You add water, it grows here. We have oceans of water underneath us. I went to the League of Cities and Towns, their big presentation. Arizona has 40 years of surplus water. 40 years. We're not short like California is. They're moving into Arizona and out the Quartzsite area. They're buying up a whole bunch of land to do farming. Where is going to be the farming? A lot of people don't know. Arizona's like number 1 in cotton, lettuce, number 2 or 3 in citrus production. Arizona, man, it rock and rolls when it comes to agriculture. So I'm going, we have mining, cattle. Who's coming after us? The man. What do we have? Donna worked with Adam Kokesh, the author of the Freedom Books, okay? He wanted to have land improve and build earthships, and they're going to do it here. About 10, 11 acres up at Ash Fork. Well, what are they going to have? Got a lot of groundwater there? No, but they got more rainwater. So they go, well, we'll just collect the rainwater. It's illegal. You're not allowed. God done gave you water, and it belongs to the state, okay? Well, I think everybody should know this. That's just juicy. So I'm going, all right, what are we going to do? So I'm meeting with, different activists and so on before we go to the legislators, the meetups and the Ron Paul guys, different legislators. We have them, have them over for dinner or going on the radio. And what do I want? One itty-bitty little piece of legislation to demonstrate what you're up against, just like we did with the gold thing. I didn't anticipate it passing. What I anticipated is we're going to find at Legislative Council, when you pass, no matter what you vote for on the floor, what was the verbiage that they passed on to Karen? Oh yeah, here it's done in the amendments, and there it is. She goes, well, you guys, check it for me. Me and Pal go down there every time she'd get it, go to different committees and as a whole, and went to the Senate and all that stuff. Wherever we had two things that I wanted in there, medallions, not to exceed 1 troy ounce in gold, silver, copper. It plural, because I wanted to be able to have a 1/10 ounce, quarter ounce, half ounce, and medallions not to exceed 1 troy ounce. The other thing was in sufficient quantity to supply all public demand. There had to be, as much if I wanted it, they're going to make it and I get it and then do this one thing, all right? That kept getting taken out. By whom? Legislators vote for it, amendment kind of passed everything because the Legislative Council didn't have it in there. I'm going, right there. That's what I wanted. Well, Pat knew they were going to bitch it up. Speaker wires are supposed to be all mined in Arizona, refined in Arizona, minted in Arizona. They had a guy with an old minting that does all of the coins for the Arizona museums down at the Capitol and all that. He's ready to go. Did it according, got a proof of it. And they go, no, we're not having you do it. It's going in Wisconsin, and we get our cut. Just another money-making deal. In violation of the law, by the way. But what did it prove? They're too corrupt to do this. You don't want the government involved in any kind of money. You don't want them part of anything. You want to do your own. So we have silver calculators on the App Store we do on our phones. All these young kids going to these different festivals, they trade in junk silver. They trade in silver. How much is that? $25.16. But this many silver dimes, 1/4, and this is my change, boom. We did that so you could use silver. Then came Bitcoin. Digital currencies. The man do not like them in Bitcoin. Hell no. Is it going to be Bitcoin or something like Bitcoin? There's Morpheus right there. That's how he deals in. He's your house call banker. He goes to the doctor, the lawyer.